Gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me here today, and big shout out to you guys that support me and Luba on this channel with your likes, subscribes and your comments. It is much appreciated. Now, if you've been following the channel for a little while, you may remember that we did a few videos at the start about scammers and how the scammers work, how they take advantage of guys, the money back restaurants, and everything that sort of is going on, so that you guys can be wary of it and avoid it, and maybe do a little bit better than some of the other guys that first came over here, myself included. But we try not to talk too much about scammers because there really isn't that many scammers. It's just that the scammers or the girls, the pro daters, whatever you want to call them, they go where Western guys are going to take advantage of them. So when guys come over here, they may come into contact with 3 or 4 of them, and it seems like they're all scammers, but trust me when I tell you, it's not the case. So we try to stay away from scam videos and try and give you more useful information that you can use in a positive way. But today's video is a scam video, and it's actually a restaurant scam video. But I'm not going to expose any scams or scammers. In fact, the only person that is going to get exposed is you. The restaurant scam. The simplest of all scams, the easiest of all scams for a scammer, and probably the most lucrative of all the scams. And there's a reason why these scammers and these pro daters do it, and that's because guys basically fall for it so easily. And if you haven't seen the videos on our channel, go back and watch some of those and you can identify it relatively easily. And you may be thinking, well, how bad could it be? Well, here's a bill here. This one here is about $7,000 US. This is an extreme case, and this is actually the worst one that I've ever seen, but I've seen one for 2, 3, 4, 5, anything, anywhere in between. But this one is the biggest one that I've ever seen. And that's why I want to show it to you, because, I mean, it could happen to you. Luckily for this guy here, Luba actually heard about this guy, and she managed to build a case of all the other scams that were online and other guys that had got scammed that she knew as well. And she put it together, he took it to his bank, and he got his money back. But that is even more rarer than the bill being that high. So that's why we want you to be aware of it and not get yourself into a position where this could happen to you. But let's think about things on a different level. Who cares about the scammers? Who cares about the scammers? Yeah, you've lost some money, but there's something that is far worse that's actually happening when these scams are taking place in front of you. So what happens is the guy, he picks like a beautiful woman. He goes on a date with her translator. They sit down. All of a sudden, all of this food starts coming out. This caviar, this seafood, these big giant crab legs and lobster and all this stuff. And it starts piling up in front of the guy. And 99% of guys, what they'll do is they'll sit there and think, okay, yeah, you know, what should I do now? Should I say, no, I'll pay the bill. And what happens is the guy pays the bill because it's in our nature to be somebody that can show that we can provide. That we can show that we would take good care of this woman. So the guy doesn't say anything. And maybe it's out of like the instinct of not to create a scene. Or maybe it's the instinct of being a good provider, a good carer. And if she sees that I'm happy to give her all this amazing food that she's probably, I was going to say she's never had in her whole life, but she probably has had it 3 or 4 times that week. But in his mind, that's what he's thinking. The bill comes out and he pays, and that's the end of the date. In fact, that's the end of all interactions unless she believes that she can scam him again. But he's hoping that because he paid for that, he didn't cause a scene, he didn't make a fool of himself. He showed her that like he's got money. He's hoping that she's going to be thinking, wow, this guy's like, he can take care of me. He's like got the means to do that, to take care of me, to take care of a family. But really what is happening here is that the moment that she placed that order and that waiter walked to the kitchen to put the order in with the chef, any respect that she could have had, and she probably has no respect for you at that stage anyway because she's a scammer, any little ounce of respect that she might have for you has gone out the window. The sheer fact that you sat there and allowed her to order all of this expensive food, $1,000 worth of food, and you didn't stand up and say, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Or at least even ask the waiter and say, can you read this back to me? Find out what it is and then say to her, I'm not buying you all of this food. I'm here to have a quick date with you to see if there's anything in common and we can progress from there. If you think I'm going to feed you and your friend all of this like $1,000 worth of seafood, you've got another thing coming. If you did that, when she ordered this food, she would have more respect for you as a man, as somebody that could actually take care of her, that could protect her, than somebody who foots the bill on $1,000 meal. All women at some stage are going to shit test you. Scammers don't really shit test, okay? Because they're not expecting anyone to pass the shit test. You know, if she was legit and she did something like that to see how far she could push you, like she asked you for some jewelry and you said no, then you pass the shit test, right? Like, this scammer is not looking for you to pass the shit test. She is doing this for money. She's not doing this to see if you can qualify yourself to her. So if you sit there and allow her to just order all of this food and just keep quiet and just hope oh, I hope the bill's not going to be too big, and then pay the bill at the end of it, I'm telling you, man, she has no respect for you whatsoever. And if you think I'm making it up, do you really think that these local Ukrainian women are taking out local Ukrainian men and doing this to them? You think they're really going to put up with a woman that's going to rack up $1,000 worth of seafood? It's just not happening. Ukrainian women are so different from Western women. Okay, they are so much looking for a strong, confident man. I've talked about it before in some of the other videos, and Luba has also talked about it as well. Ukrainian women want strong men. A man that is trying to date her, who panders to her every need, gives her everything that she wants, doesn't stand up for himself when either he's being shit tested or he's getting scammed, doesn't matter which one, she's never going to have respect for him at all. You would be well more respected if you were to stand up, tell her that she's a greedy pig, tell her she's not getting any of this food, cancel the order, grab your jacket and then leave. She would respect you a shitload more for doing that than sitting there like every other guy that she's pro-dated for the last year or two, who she's taken advantage of, who's just paid this bill or given her gifts, that she has no respect for whatsoever. Now, let me tell you a quick story. There's an old story that's been milling around. It's actually a true story. Luba actually knows the girl. I actually saw her one day. We were down at Arcadia, and Luba said, that's that girl that I was talking about that time. And she was a infamous, I think I'm going to use infamous, pro-dater in Odessa, and she got a lot of stuff. She got 2 apartments from 2 different guys. She got cars. She got money, jewelry from all these Western guys that were coming over, and she'd put her hand up. She'd always get in front of the guy. Oh, date me. I like you. She was so good at pro-dating. She sustained a really, really healthy, rich lifestyle. And you're probably thinking, well, which guy managed to win her heart with the most amount of gifts? She ended up marrying a guy from Turkey, a Turkish guy. Now, if you know anything about Ukrainian women, especially in Odessa, they don't really like Turkish guys. They find Turkish guys to be abrasive, arrogant, loud, little respect for women, and that's the consensus throughout. I'm not saying that because I think that. I really have no idea, but that's what the consensus is through Ukrainian women. So why did she marry a Turkish guy? This woman that got all this free stuff, cars, apartments, all this and lavish gifts and lifestyle. Why did she marry the Turkish guy? It was because the Turkish guy didn't put up with her shit. That is the lesson to be learned here. No matter how much you try and pander to her needs, no matter how much stuff you try and give her, no matter how much you actually like her yourself, it doesn't mean that she's going to have respect for you. Women do not form relationships with men that they do not respect. And if you foot the bill on a $3,000 seafood dinner on your first meeting, she will have negative respect for you. There's no way she's ever going to respect this man. How are you going to stick up for her if there's any trouble? How are you going to look after her? How are you really going to make sure that she's okay in life when you can't even stick up for yourself? And on a side note, do you really think that if you go out with a woman and she spends $1,000 on lunch, do you think the next date's going to be cheaper? Do you really want to be with a woman that on the first date should be a coffee date and a walk in the park, go feed the ducks or something? Do you really think that the second date's going to be a cheaper date? Do you think the first date is where you really were and after that she's a nice village girl? Always be asking yourself these questions because you always need to be qualifying here, right? Always be asking yourself these questions. Always be analysing everything. We've talked about it before in videos. Always be qualifying everything that she is doing. I don't think it's really getting any better. I think some guys are sort of getting a little bit more wise to it. I do know some guys that have watched my video that have messaged me or emailed me and said that they saw it happening and they got up and walked away. Don't worry about making a scene or anything like that, because one of two things is going to happen. One, you're going to sit there and she's never going to call you and you're going to be stuck with $1,000 bill. Or two, she's never going to call you and you get to leave and you get to keep your $1,000. But it's all about having your own self-worth. Are you worth that? Is that, if you accept that as your as who you are, you're really devaluing yourself. Just remember this: Ukrainian women want a badass gentleman who doesn't take shit from anyone, including her. That's the video for today. I just wanted to put this out there because I see these big restaurant bills all the time, and really, we shouldn't be putting up with it, even if it's just a matter of self-respect and nothing to do with the actual money itself. If you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.